Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us for this evening's edition of HR Mentorship Learning Series. And we'll be looking at a very great topic, emerging global HR practices. As we're all aware, best practices is always evolving, always dynamic, and we just have to keep abreast of recent developments across the globe. Tonight, we have a capable and very able facilitator. Her name is Onyidasola Ohanugo, and she is an HR professional and also a lawyer. She's not a first-timer on this platform, but just for the benefit of any one of us who may be new to this platform, I'd like to just read a little about her so that we can get better acquainted with her. By way of education, she is a lawyer and she's a member of the Chartered Institute of Personnel Management of Nigeria and also a member of the Association of Professional Negotiators and Mediators of Nigeria. All right. She has a master's degree in managerial psychology from the University of Lagos, a law degree from the Olabisi Onabanjo University, and she's about now rounding up a master's program in management, human resources at Swansea University. She has worked in quite a number of organizations, and her most recent work experience is as human resource manager, Paradigm Initiative. Prior to now, she was human resource consultant with Digilent Center Limited and also human resource manager with the Bible Society of Nigeria. She was also a past head human resources and African Capital Holdings, and also she served as head of human resources with Ultima Limited, just to mention a few. Ladies and gentlemen, for the second time on this prestigious platform, let's receive Onyida. You have the floor, ma'am. Thank you for joining us again.
Thank you very much, Mr. Adeoshun. It's a pleasure for me to be here again this evening. I'd like to say good evening to everyone. Thank you for having me once again. I'm excited to share of my little knowledge, little experience with all of us, and I'm also interested in learning from us as well. Hold on a bit, let me just pause this. Okay, sorry for that. All right, so yeah, before we continue, I'd like us to just pay a few seconds respect to one of us who was on this platform the last time I had a session here, and she made quite a mark on me. And when I read about the news of her demise, I reached out to Mr. Adeoshun and I asked, because it was just once I'd met her, and it was just a question she asked and recommendations she made. But it struck a chord in me, and it was someone that I would have loved to continue to relate with because of the energy she brought, the enthusiasm she brought, and the feedback she gave that day. And that also sends a message. Is also a learning for us who are still here, that what are we doing with the resources that we have been given. Are we because I would believe that she had left her footprints in the sands of time. So I would want to ask that question: what are we as human resources practitioners, human resources professionals, human resources people, how are we impacting the people that we come across? What are we leaving behind? How do they remember us? Yeah, so the person is greatness Olorunfemi. I met her only once, and it was an e-meeting. So I'll just like us to pay a few seconds respect to her. May the soul of the departed rest in perfect peace. Amen. All right, thank you very much, everyone. We are about to get into the session, and I hope and look forward to it being an exciting time like the last time or even better, and an engaging period, a time of learning and a time of sharing of ideas. So we're going to be talking about emerging global HR practices. In the times that we are in now, we see, excuse me, we see that the world is evolving. We see that there are different things coming up per time. And we as HR professionals, being in the center of the business, we need to bring ourselves up to speed with these practices. Why do I say we're in the center of the business? We are, like I said the last time I made a presentation, we are on the side of the management or leadership, as some organizations call them, and we are also employees. So we wear two caps per time. We wear the cap of employee and wear the cap of management. So how are we going to balance these practices with the business world? How are we going to be able to serve the employees, and how are we going to be able to serve the management? So we have to. These are some of the emerging global practices. I would say that the list is not exhaustive because of our time. It's just a little that I will touch on. But then I know that many of us know these practices. It's just a refresher for us, emerging global HR practices. So so first, I like to always define keywords. Emerging, when you say something is emerging, we mean that it is new, it is arising, or it is coming up. It's a new development. That's what it means to emerge, to come up, to arise, something that had not been there before, something new coming into the space. We speak about global. Global relates to the world, relates to, when we talk about worldwide, that's what we mean by global. And practices are general patterns or customs or habits accepted in a particular space. We all know HR to be human resources. So when you say that emerging global human resource practices, you can therefore define them as arising on new patterns or customs in the HR profession that are now accepted or recognized worldwide. So we inculcate them into they are accepted all over. And so we in our local spaces, we try to inculcate them, we try to introduce them into our space to make the work easier for us, because we can actually say that, oh, I've been doing this in a particular way before. I don't want to change. But then you realize that you're at risk of losing your talent. You realize that other organizations will move ahead while you are still there. So we must know these practices and know how to adapt them. Adapt, I said, and not adopt. It would not be right to say that you adopt these practices hook, line, and sinker. We should adapt them because each scenario, each organization, each industry is different. So emerging global HR practices. So what caused this change? You know, there was a way the world was before now, and now the world is changing. What has caused this change is the COVID-19 pandemic. When we look at COVID-19 pandemic, it brought about this new wave as it ushered in a period tagged under VUCA. So many of us have heard about VUCA. VUCA. I tried to speak a little to it here. It speaks to volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity. The times are uncertain. There's a lot of ambiguity, and there's a lot of complexity. You know, the COVID-19 pandemic threw a disruption. It just caused a disruption for us, and everybody was going haywire. What do we do? What do we do? Was the first thing. You know, some organizations had tried to they survived that period because there were some things that they had done, but not they had done those things. Not I won't say that they were really particular. They were really deliberate. Yeah, the word is deliberate about those things, but they were just doing those things. But then when the pandemic started and then they saw that it worked for them, then they were more deliberate about it, and then other organizations followed suit. So I said here that the pandemic caused a disruption to the business world, and it necessitated human resource professionals to be dynamic in order to survive in the new times. Like I said before, we can't continue to do things the way we used to do things. Otherwise, we'll lose our talents. And, you know, employees are the greatest assets that any organization can have. And we as human resource managers, our duty is to manage the employees and align them with organizational goals. That's our main duty as HR professionals for the complete employee life cycle, to manage from entry to exit, from onboarding, like we said the last time, to offboarding. So that's our job as human resource practitioners, and we've seen that it's the COVID-19 pandemic that caused this change. It's something that we couldn't help. It's something that we couldn't do anything about. But then what do? We need to just adjust to the times. Now, the pre-pandemic era. There was a pre-pandemic era, And I wrote here in this slide that I want us to look at how things were before the pandemic. And so I don't know how many of us were HR practitioners before the pandemic, but we'll see that there was a lot of interaction at that time. I just tried to summarize them here. Full in-person roles. You find out that everything was in person. You want to have an interview, it was in person. Everything was on site. So there was no terminology like off-site. Only a few, very few would say that, okay, they had roles that were offsite, but 99% of the roles we had then were full in-person roles, where employees gathered at physical offices to get tasks done. So there was no time of saying I'm working from home today. Everybody was working from the office. We had face-to-face interviews and assessments, where the interviewer will come, the interviewer will sit and will ask questions face to face. There was no use of technology or other means, but it was just face to face interviews. We saw that even before the pandemic. I remember that was when Skype started, but it was with reluctance that many of us even had Skype accounts, and anybody that had a Skype account then, it was something to hype yourself about. I have a Skype account, so you want to use it to hype yourself. But now, I don't even think Skype is existing any longer, because we have several other platforms that have emerged. We had brick and mortar offices. It was hard brick and mortar offices where people went to, and not, you're saying you're working from your home or you're working from a hub. Everybody was in the office. Then what about our documentation? Physical documentation. You would carry files, and that was why they used to call HR managers then personnel managers, because it was more administrative. It wasn't like we were business partners, when now that the world is changing to HR practitioners being more strategic in their roles. It was more about documentation. You make your leave request, you file it, you carry it to the HR, they will sign it, they take it to the line manager, they will sign it, and everything was physical documentation. It had to be in person. Then we speak about our onboarding and trainings. You have a training, you get your approval for your training, you go to the training center, or the trainer, the facilitator comes to your office to have a joint training, a general training for all the employees. So there was, and then when maybe a new employee is getting to the organization, is starting afresh, you have the sessions. I remember when I was at Bible Society and I was about to be inducted, we're about 8 that week, and we were put somewhere, and different heads of departments, different unit heads were coming in to tell us about the organization, about what they do, about how our roles will be, to welcome us. And it was fully in person. It was fully in person on site. And then maybe perhaps the newest one is, it was less emphasis on mental health of employees. There were some organizations then, you are sick, you are dying, you must be at work. I worked at a place before, and when I was joining, one of the employees, one of my colleagues then told me that whether you are sick or you are not sick, you must be in the office. And she had a driver then, and she said, so because of that, her driver can never be sick, because she can never call in sick. So it was just about getting the tasks done. However you want to get it done, you should get it done, because then we didn't really see the threat to the organization. Then we didn't see that maybe employees would want to leave at will. We didn't see that happening. So that was the pre-pandemic era, a lot of personal interactions. And then what happened? COVID happened, and we see now that COVID brought remote work and hybrid work. I said here that the COVID era saw organizations desperately trying to adjust to the shutdown of the world economy and the unavailability of employees for work. There was a complete shutdown. Post-pandemic, while some people craved for human interaction, we saw an increase in the ratio of employees who prefer to work from their homes and anywhere away from the offices. When I look at this post-pandemic era now, I just begin to wonder, how did we actually survive pre-pandemic? How people like us who are now even reluctant to go to the offices, how did we survive the everyday going to work then, and we're happy about it. And now we're working and we don't want to go back to the offices fully. And you find out that now you want to employ somebody and the person is asking you, is it remote or is it hybrid? Before the person even wants to accept the role, the person wants to know what kind of work model it is. That's the post-pandemic era. So I checked an analysis conducted by Gartner. It showed that 48% of employees now prefer to work remotely. 48%. That means the remaining 52%, they prefer to work either physically or hybrid. Many actually prefer hybrid because while many people don't want to stop the physical interaction completely, they also want to work remotely. And then 74% of CFOs intend to increase remote work at their organizations. This has changed the hiring strategy for HR professionals as they might lose talents to other organizations that are willing to be flexible in their work structure. So I've spoken to flexibility there for HR managers. Then we see the new remote and hybrid work models also reduce the need for brick and mortar offices, hence throwing up new staff challenges for HR leaders. So it reduced the need for brick and mortar offices, and then we saw the need for hubs where we don't have so many employees in an area. You just pay for a hub for the person to go 2 days a week, 3 days a week to work from that place. And then, so post-pandemic, we're still talking about post-pandemic here. Yes, I'm trying to admit people so that it won't block my screen. Okay, so we see a heavy reliance on technology. So this is the bedrock of everything. We've spoken to remote work. So remote work is the change that happened post-pandemic, and then it threw up a lot of things, threw up a lot of benefits, threw up a lot of challenges. The main one that we now had to shift, the main shift became a heavy reliance on technology. I said here that to compete in an era of increased remote work, hiring managers should prioritize digital dexterity and digital collaboration skills. You see that there's a heavy reliance on technology. There are so many aspects of the HR transactional tasks that have been replaced with the use of technology and other AI and automation tools. I said I spoke to documentation before. I spoke to in-person interviews and all of that. So you see that a lot of it that we thought were actually strategic before. Interestingly, we thought they were strategic, but now we look at it and they're just transactional. They are not really transformational. So, we have the transformational aspect of HR and we also have the transactional aspect of HR. But we find out that most of those things now, technology has taken over, and then we're able to focus more on strategic planning. We're able to focus more on talent management. We're able to focus more on performance management. Those are the more strategic, more transformational roles of HR. Then this has also informed most, if not all, of the decisions taken by HR professionals, because how else would we get an organization filled with remote working staff going except through technology? So we see staff working in a hub, for instance. How else do you want to get the staff? How else do you want to relate with the staff except through technology? So the next one, recruitment and selection. So we go to the different aspects of HR now, where we see that this post-pandemic post-pandemic trend, this post-pandemic practice of remote working, how has it impacted what we do? Recruitment and selection. So here you see the icon I put there, the image there. There are two people shaking outside, coming out of the laptops to shake. So that's the trend now. There's nobody coming to the offices to say, I'm here for an interview. I want to see the HR manager. And you begin to sign to see the HR manager. So recruitment processes are now through the use of chatbots and AI-powered tools for candidate screening. It improves efficiency and it reduces bias in hiring processes. So so we have the benefits. Like I said, we have the pros and cons of it. The pros is that it improves the efficiency. There's reduced time because you have the AI tools where you just put in your keywords and it screens out people or it selects people for the next stage. And it also reduces bias. So you find out that in some parts of the world, they don't even want you to put your name, in the application form. They just want you to, they say, don't put anything personal, so that it reduces the bias, it reduces human intervention as much as possible. They want to give people a fair level playing ground, so that everybody has the same Everybody has the same opportunities to play in that space. And then you see the second one here, interview selection processes have also migrated to being through the use of platforms like Zoom, Google Meet, Teams, amongst many others. For example, we're having this session now, and I'm miles away. I don't know where other people are scattered all over, and we're having it through Zoom. Zoom, Google Meet, other platforms like that. I mentioned Skype the other time. It has helped with our recruitment and selection. So you see a heavy reliance on technology for our recruitment and selection. Then we see the next one. We've spoken about recruitment and selection. Who are we recruiting? Which people are we selecting? See that there's a distributed workforce across. So a HR manager, a HR practitioner, depending on the space in which you play, you want to expand your talent pool. You don't want to make it restricted. You find out that some people are working, the offices are in Port Harcourt, the person working is in Lagos. Why? Because we've seen technology, the world has now become a global village. It's now just a tiny space where you can reach out, like the other image showed. You can reach out to somebody just across, as if you are in the same room, real time. You don't have to wait for somebody to wake up or something. You drop a message. The person is in a different space. You are in a different space, but then we're still working. We're still getting the tasks done. This couldn't be done pre-pandemic, because then all of us had to be in the same office. We had to resume at 8 a.m. We had to resume at 9 a.m. before office had to be open. If for instance, the admin person doesn't come with the office key, nobody enters office, no work is done that day. But we see that here we have a distributed workforce all over, multiple employees working in different locations, which could be remote offices, headquarters, facilities, home offices, or in the field. Anywhere you are, you can continue working. So distributed workforce. We can have people in Senegal, you can have people in the United Kingdom, you can have people in the United States, anywhere working. So you can see from the image there of the map, we see different people working from different spaces, from different locations. And then HR professionals must be careful to know what laws operate in the various jurisdictions that their employees work from. This is a great challenge for HR professionals. It's one of the cons of it, I would say, because I've had an experience before. I think I shared the last time, where we had employees working in Senegal and I was in Nigeria, but we had a general policy, and at the time the employee was leaving, that was when I found out that the laws that apply to them in Senegal regarding exit is different from the laws that apply to us in Nigeria. So we have to bring, it's not about me being a lawyer or me being from a legal background, but as a HR professional, as an HR leader, you must understand what it is across the border from where you're working. So if you have an employee, for instance, working from the US and you're in the UK, you want to know whether the rules you have, the laws you have in the UK, do they relate to the one in the US? The ones I've been using for people in Nigeria, do they relate to the people in Cameroon? So we must know what laws operate in the various jurisdictions that our employees work from. There are different local laws spanning a wide range of issues. You find out that even in Nigeria, you have some states that have maternity leave as 4 months, you have some as 6 months, you have some as 3 months, different laws. You want to know what laws, so that you don't run foul of the law. You want to know what laws apply to your distributed workforce, and you want to know how to comply as HR, as the person sitting on that seat. Then we look at onboarding, trainings, and development. Onboarding processes and trainings are now remote, and the sessions conducted via video conferencing. Digital resources and virtual training and onboarding modules have now replaced in-person trainings. I said about an organization I worked before, and everybody sat down. We brought everybody that joined the organization at that time. We had our training, our onboarding at the same time. We also know banks in Nigeria, when they have training centers where people go there to sit down and you actually commit full time to those times where you sit down. Some places still do it, because like I said before, it's global practice. It doesn't mean that you should adopt it. We adapt it to what you have in your space. It might not work for you, because if you have for instance, I wouldn't expect a pilot, for instance, to not go through the usual simulation and to be in the cockpit to do their regular trainings. I wouldn't say that you take a book and you begin to read it and that's how you fly people. Same with people who work with machines. Same with people who perhaps work on the farm, on the field. It must be in person. But I'm saying that most of those things, 99% have moved online via video conferencing. So we can actually be having an onboarding session together at the same time. Just send the module to the new team member, the new employee, and the person reads through. The person has places where they ask questions, where they also give recommendations. Everything has become in quotes. Organizations are now investing massively in reskilling and upskilling programs to help employees acquire new skills and stay relevant. Most of these programs are online courses, workshops, and mentorship programs. So it still relates to the onboarding, reskilling and upskilling. We don't want to be left behind because in this times that we see a lot of job migration. You know, somebody gets a job now, before you know it, next 6 months, the person has moved on. But how do you want to keep employees engaged? So, but I would say that you can only do so much. You can't tie an employee down. I'm not an advocate of having employees sign bonds, but you can just create a great environment for the person to thrive. And when the person sees that you have their best interest at heart, you know, they want to stay, they want to give back to the organization. So we invest. There's a lot of investment in employees now for onboarding trainings and development. Documentation. I spoke to documentation when I was talking about the pre-COVID era, the pre-pandemic era. So the previous hard copy documents and physical filings have given way to soft copy or electronic documents. You see here the image I put there, the man is actually filing, you know, but he's doing it through the computer. Filing of employee documents and information are now done on the cloud via Google Drive or Dropbox. You have also have various online HR software like Bamboo HR. We have Work Compass, to mention a few. So documentation is online. You send to the employee, even leave requests are online now. Nobody carries paper to meet any personnel manager anywhere. Signatures are electronic now. You sign, and then you find out that you have your staff files. They're there. You know, you just have to devote time to just quickly file those things instead of doing the hard copy. And it also keeps our data more secure. I spoke about it the last time also. It keeps our data more secure because it's online now. Everything is online. That's regarding our documentation. Yes, employee engagement and well-being. Employee engagement and well-being. This is perhaps one of the most important, one of the most crucial ones that we find, the new trends, the new practices. The focus is now on the mental health and wellness of employees, and HR leaders have had to design engaging programs for staff working remotely and from different parts of the world. In our organization, we recently had a yoga session for employees, and you know, for me, it wasn't really something I was looking forward to. You know, but at the end of the session, people came and said, I really enjoyed this session, this yoga session. You wonder that the mentality has changed. You know, the mentality has changed, and HR managers now have to continually think of dynamic ways to engage staff. There's an increase in the ratio of depressed and stressed people, you know, because of the reduced physical interactions that we see. We find out that so many people are depressed now. The word depression now comes up before you say one or two things. Somebody says they are depressed. And then you are wondering, what do you even mean by this depressed? You know, but they say it's used as I'm depressed, and you know, you just have to be careful, because if someone has told you that they're depressed and you don't help the person, eventually, if perhaps person has told someone else, I've reported to my HR that I was going through a time of depression, and unfortunately maybe it ends, maybe the person takes their life, it comes back to the HR table. What did you do about it? What measures did you take? Did you actually address this? Did you take this person serious? So we now have to incorporate mental wellness sessions into our employee programs. This will ensure that we have a happy and engaged workforce that will be productive and loyal to the organization. So the story has moved from an organization-centric approach to an employee-centric approach. Organizations have now embraced employee-friendly and open work culture with flexible working hours and other progressive benefits like paternity leave and extended vacation time. You find out that there was little or no focus on paternity leave. When you get to places, you rarely hear about paternity leave. Focus is on maternity leave. I say a lot of places I've heard of 1 year maternity leave even now, because they say they want the mother to return to the office fully rested, and having been with a child would have made her happy enough to come back to the office. And then you also want to give the father time to be fully rested with the child as well. So you have like gym tickets, you have loyalty cards. Those are the benefits that we are seeing at organizations now. It's no longer all about money. Everything we used to do was about money. Okay, so if somebody is employee of the year, what do you give the person? Maybe then you think of buying, giving a certificate and then buying something. But now we look more towards the benefits. We look more towards the incentives. So we don't non-monetary benefits. You don't want, the focus is moving rapidly from being organization centric. I spoke about open work culture here. You want to have a culture, a friendly culture, and it also speaks to, we see transparency a lot in organizations now. It also speaks to our pay structures. You see organizations, an employee wants to join you and they want to know what they're going to be earning. It was different for us in those days. You just want to be happy to get a job. You're just happy that, they called me for interview. No, you just want to be happy about that first and then go through all the process. And then you find out that at the end of the day, go through the process and whatever pay is offered you, most times you don't even have room for negotiation. They just offer you, they say you're earning 100,000 and that's it. It's cast in stone. You really don't have a choice. But we see that the post-pandemic period has thrown a lot more options to employees. It has given them a lot more options to choose from. So HR managers, HR leaders, HR professionals, we need to move up. We need to move, we need to adjust to the times. Otherwise, we'll lose our talent. When we're still saying, it's 100,000 or nothing, and you don't want to shift, you don't want to even look at what else can I bring as a benefit to this person? Okay, would you be willing to work 2 days from home? That's also a benefit. They put it there in job vacancy announcements now. You see hybrid remote. You find it there. You see some remote. And even that some people won't even take up jobs that are not remote. That is the key for them. So the power has shifted, there's a popular program they do in Nigeria, a church program. They say power must change hands. So power has indeed changed hands from the hands of the organization to the hands of the employee. So the employees now, in quotes, call the shots. The employees now, in quotes, they're moving things around. They're telling us that this is how we want things to be. So we as the HR managers, we are there to adjust, to adapt it to what the organization can afford. It doesn't mean that if the organization can't afford 2 days from home for the employee, then we must say, because we want to keep this employee, we don't want to lose this employee. We then quickly accept that. We must relate it, like I said, to our organization. Can we actually allow this person work from home? This person is a customer service person and our organization is a bank, for instance. Can we let the person work from home? And interestingly, we see even banks now, they have customer service people from home, working from home, automated voices and all of that. And at the end of the day, they keep you on hold for a long time. If you're really, really interested in getting that problem solved, then you get a voice of a real person speak to you. The person might be at home, person might be in a hub, person might be in the office. So we see that power has indeed changed hands. It's more employee-centric. We're looking at their well-being. We're looking at engagement of the employees. Then we speak to data and people analytics. I must confess, a lot of us, including me, have really struggled with this part of it because it takes a different learning, a new perspective of how human resource leaders, how human resource professionals should do their work. Now we rely heavily on data. We rely heavily on people analytics. And what does the data help us do? The data helps us to measure trends. It helps us to measure what has worked for us in the past. We have KPIs, and KPIs are meant to be measurable so that we can track whether there have been improvements or we need to change the strategy altogether. That's what this data and people analytics helps us to do. In our organization, when we wanted to move from hybrid, and we're thinking of moving from fully remote to hybrid, we wanted to measure how were the people performing even pre-pandemic. How were they performing when everybody, like they say in quotes, all hands on deck? How were they performing when all hands were on physical deck? How was the performance like? Now we went remote. How was the team performing? And then post-pandemic, We want to see how to not be fully remote again, but migrate to hybrid. So we want to measure it and not just, I just bring an idea and I just want it to work. So gone were the days when HR managers would just say, oh, I have this idea. Why not let's do this because this organization is doing this. We want to measure it and see that it actually works for us and it will be in our best interest. So HR professionals rely heavily on surveys to gauge employee satisfaction and strive hard to improve the overall employee experience from entry to exit. There are many surveys, and there was a time that we just download the survey and would share, but now we can actually develop our own surveys via the use of Google Forms, and we develop our own surveys and share with people. That's part of the heavy reliance on technology. So these surveys help us to gauge employee satisfaction. These surveys help us to gauge, we look at the trends. This person is going to stay, this person is not going to stay. This is the percentage of level of engagement we have. We need to work more because people give feedback and tell us, oh, the pay is not great. This is not working well. Would like to see this, would like to see that, and you see the graphs represented like that, and you can actually draw your decision from that. So it involves analyzing people problems, using data to answer critical questions about your organization. So you have your people problems. Before, we couldn't quite place our hands on it. When something's going wrong, you just know something's going wrong. You might have to talk to people one-on-one, but now you just draw up a survey and share with the team, and the team can come up with, it can even bring up solutions for you that you work around. Then it gives HR professionals measurable results. I've spoken to that the company can compare to past data or save for the future. So you check the trends, use it to check the trends, and then you draw a conclusion, because this part of it is especially very important, because now as HR managers, like I said before, we're no longer personnel managers. We're no longer just doing the transactional duties. We're more transformational in our roles. We sit at the decision tables with the COO, with the CFOs. It's not only the CFO now that earns a seat at the table, but HR is right in the middle of it. And it depends on how much knowledge you are bringing to the table. It depends on how much, you can only influence with the experience you have. Once they see that you have this experience and you have a trajectory of influencing for better, they say that we want to hear what this person has to say. This person knows their onions. This person knows what he's talking about. So when I'm saying that I'm bringing a survey, when I'm saying, like there was a time in our organization, we knew that there was an issue, and I was the one who just said, oh, it's just a survey that will take care of this, So it's the HR manager that would prefer solutions. That's what they're looking to us for solutions to employee problems, solutions even to managerial problems. Because once you solve the employee problems, it's automatically translates into the business, because without the employees, we can't get anything done. Those are the talents. That's why we call it talent management. How do we manage the talent of the organization? So that's data and people analytics. And then here I spoke about the challenges for HR professionals. Very few challenges I mentioned here, but I'd mentioned some along the line. Challenges for HR professionals. You see a lot of moonlighting. A lot of challenges. You don't even know. Sometimes somebody's working and you don't know whether the person is working two jobs. Is the person focusing on this job, or the person is not focusing on our job? Is it job A or job B? You see a lot of moonlighting because of the remote environment now, because of the hybrid environment. Some can actually be working weekends for an organization, and the person is working weekdays for another organization. Sometimes you even see that the employee is juggling the time for the two organizations. There's supposed to be a meeting now. The employee gives an excuse for not being in the meeting or something. So you see that. And that translates to a lot of performance management issues. A lot of performance management issues. And, even technology has its pros and cons, like I said before. When you talk about moonlighting, I was talking to a friend one day, and a person was asking me if I didn't have, he said, is it jingles or jiggles? The person said. He said it's a device that you put on your computer, and it seems as if you are in front of your computer per time. So your manager looks and sees whether you're online and you're actually online. Wait, and you are online to the manager, you're online. Well, you are not online. You're actually doing something else. So you see, technology has posed a lot of challenges for us, even as HR professionals, and that's why we need to be on top of our game. How do we reduce this challenge? Because the challenge, we can't completely eradicate these challenges. How do we reduce these challenges? I've spoken to culture. The culture is key. What kind of culture, what kind of environment are we creating for our staff? Employees are looking for people who would mentor them in the workspace. They are looking for people to manage them properly, people to where they would be at their best. How do we get them to be at their best? When you invest in them, you upskill them, you reskill them. Some people, there was time I was speaking to someone, a colleague in finance, and the person was saying, oh, if we invest so much in this person's training, what if after the training, the person just says, I'm leaving? Oh, you can't control that, and the response was that as you have invested in this person, so also you get somebody that another organization has invested in, because we are constantly recruiting, and you recruit somebody that another organization has trained. Even if another organization has not trained that person, the person is coming with experience that the person has gotten maybe by themselves somewhere and paid for it and is bringing it to work for you. So we shouldn't clamp down on that and say that, oh, we're not going to be investing on our employees any longer to prevent moonlighting. It will continue to happen, and I don't see an end to it in the nearest future. To continue to happen because technology has created so many channels for this to continue to happen. I was speaking to performance management the other time. How do we manage performance? People who are working remotely, somebody is in Senegal, like I said, somebody is in Cameroon, you, the HR manager, you are in Nigeria, you have another person working in the United Kingdom. How do we manage this performance? Before that, that we're in the same office, I can actually walk over to your table and say, hey, so is a Facebook you're watching at this time, or you're looking at, you're watching videos, So how do we manage performance? So the focus now is no longer on the person is at their desk 8 to 5, the person is at their desk 9 to 5. What is the focus on? The focus is on delivery of tasks. Is this person able to deliver? You have task ABC. It's supposed to deliver across 5 days. Has this person delivered? So because some of us HR professionals, we have conducted ourselves in a way that we see that when employees meet us, I've heard of HR professionals that on the lift, when the lift stops and employees want to enter, they see is the HR manager, they don't want to enter that lift, Some of us have become, in quote, witchy like that. And that's not supposed to be the case. Employees should be able to come to us with their issues. We should actually be the number one trustworthy person in the organization. Employees should be able to come with us. I see HR as a one-stop shop, a one-stop solution center for any challenge, business-wise, employee-wise. You see some HR professionals, it has even transcended the office for them. Find out that people reach out to them even away from the office because they are comfortable with them like that. And it's not someone that you tell something now that I'm actually struggling with my work, and then you see the HR manager will mention it at the next appraisal. You said you were struggling with your work at that time, And so the HR office should be a safe haven for employees. It shouldn't mean that we are trying to hide maybe secrets in quotes, but then things that are meant to be confidential between you and the employee should be confidential. Things that will not hurt the organization if you don't say out and the employee has actually confided in you, you should keep it at that. So I was speaking to performance management. Even in that way, you manage the performance of your team better because they can come to you, they relate with you, and you can actually prescribe solutions for them that would help them with their work. An employee might actually be having issues at home. The employee cannot bring it out in the open, but it's affecting the employee's work. It's affecting the performance of the employee. So what do we do as HR managers? Do we make ourselves available for these people to speak to us? Do we see, I see HR as HR like a button, I see it in many ways. I've said it's a one-stop shop for solutions. I also see HR as a button, you wear your clothes, you have all your buttons up there. But if you go outside and someone just tells you one of your buttons is open. You feel so embarrassed and you just rush somewhere to hide it. So HR is like that button that holds together that holds the clothes together. If the thread comes loose, the button comes loose, there is a problem. HR is also like the mother of the organization. The mother knows when to spank, the mother knows when to hug, the mother knows when to love, the mother knows when to correct. That's how it's supposed to be. And you'll be amazed that even a child that the mother just pushes away now and just, I'll beat you now. You find out that when the mother goes out and comes in, the child rushes to hug the mother. Does that mean the mother is not functioning well as a mother? No, but it means that the mother has learned to balance it. So these new times have brought about a new way of us looking at things, a new way of, the organization, the management comes to us that we want this thing to be done. How then do we wear our caps of empathy? How then do we relate this? Not forgetting that we ourselves are employees. How do we make the space safer for the individuals? Then the last challenge I put here is mental health. We have a lot of other challenges. I've spoken to pay transparency also before. Some of us, we're not still comfortable about sharing everything we earn. You want to put the COO's salary out there, but the roles now are changing. So they want to know what they want to earn before they are clicking the submit button on the application. So we'll do well to maybe just put a range and not exactly put the figure for it on that vacancy announcement. So we speak to mental health cases. I wrote here, I said real or imagined, because you can actually have employees come to you and they call you, they say, like I said before, someone just tells you they're depressed. And it's just that maybe the person had a late night on Sunday and doesn't want to resume on Monday morning. The person is supposed to click their computer at 9 a.m. on Monday morning and have the Monday meeting. And the person just feels that I can just call in and I say I have mental health issues. So some of these things are imagined, but we want to err on the side of caution. And if somebody tells us that I'm having issues, we want to sit up fast and say, what can I do to help you? When it now becomes a regular occurrence, then you want to sit the employee down. You want to look at the story. You want to ask maybe other people in the employees departments, is this a trend with this employee? Do you actually think this person is putting up an act? And then you want to investigate and see whether it is actually real or imagined. But these things are real life cases that we see that have come, and unfortunately, these things have come to stay, because people are going to call on these mental health cases, you see, because there's a lot of disengagement now. We have to, like I said the other time, we have to look for a yoga person to come to our team meeting to do yoga sessions. For the life of me, what has yoga got to do at the workplace? But that's what they want. That's what they say will make them feel lighter. And at the end of the day, HR, we felt better. And I'm like, really? So, but that's where the generation X or Y or Z now, whatever the generation is now, is moving us to. So we as HR professionals have to adapt and see how to be of support to the management. We want to be the first person the management looks to when there's an issue. Before, HR wasn't the first person. HR would be the last person to actually even know about something. They would have said it amongst all the other managers because they feel that you don't have any ideas to contribute. But when you're on top of your game, like I said, we HR people have seen a defect in the skills, not a defect, we've seen a gap in the skills we have, which is the digital aspect of it. We need to up our game, upskill ourselves, reskill ourselves in the area of digitalization. We want to have digital dexterity because that's where the world is going to now. The world is moving The world is heavily relying on technology, and we have to put in our A game. Otherwise, you find out that even as technology has replaced a lot of things, at a point you begin to wonder, I hope technology isn't going to replace HR. Because you find out that even in some organizations, they tell you there's no need for a HR person to be sitting. And they tell you we can automate everything. We can automate our salary, we automate everything, And you find out that they find little or no reason to keep the HR professional. But then when we bring value to the table, it will be HR first that they would consider, not even finances that they consider, but HR first. We need a HR person first to tell us the way to go, to tell us the direction to go, to tell us what the future is like for us in the next 5 years, in the next 10 years. What does it look like for us? It's not finance that will determine that. It's actually HR, because HR manages the employees. HR will be the one to tell us, with this group of people that we have, we can make it up to 5 years. With this group of people we have, we can make it up to 5 years, we can make it beyond, before you begin to talk about finances. Otherwise, if you had all the money in the world, if there are no employees there, who are you going to pay? Thank you very much for listening. I'd like to take contributions now, questions, recommendations. Thank you.
Wow, thank you so much for that excellent presentation. Direct, sharp, straight to the point. If you have contributions, comments, or questions, this is an appropriate time to please ask so that we can call it a wrap. Madam, if you don't mind, you can also check the chat box. I think there are 1 or 2 questions or comments you may want to react to. If you like to raise your hands, please raise your hands and we can enable you to unmute and ask your questions or make your contributions.
Okay.
I think there's a comment about this. Yeah, go ahead, man.
Yes, all right. All right, I have a question here from Hawa. Says, for Nigerians outside the UK, does Nigeria law apply to them there? Or it's the UK law that is applicable to them? Okay, so I'll say I'm a living example of that now. I still work for my office in Nigeria, and I'm currently in the United Kingdom. So for us now, it's the Nigerian, because I'm a Nigerian staff. I wasn't employed in the United Kingdom. So the difference would be if you were employed in the United Kingdom, you can actually have the office in Nigeria and have a branch in the UK. So if you have a branch in the UK and the person was recruited in the UK, then the UK law should ideally apply because the person is a UK staff. But if the person has been working from Nigeria and the person moves to the UK, for instance, then the Nigerian law applies. Because for me now, when there's a public holiday in Nigeria, I observe it. When there's a public holiday in the UK, I can't tell them in the office in Nigeria that I'm not working today because we have a bank holiday. I work with the Nigerian time. So, and even now that the time has changed for us, 9 o'clock, I try to still meet up with that because that is where I'm a Nigerian staff and not considered as a UK staff. But then it also depends on the organization. If the organization says, oh yeah, we'll continue to treat you, we'll start treating you like a UK staff. Yeah, it works for them. Yeah, because remember also if the person then becomes a UK staff, are you going to start paying the person in pounds, for instance? Are you going to start remitting the taxes to the United Kingdom? Or so it makes it easier if the person was recruited from Nigeria, just continue to work in Nigeria with the Nigerian law. So that's one. Looking at, okay, this is another question. With respect to survey as a tool to unearthing employee engagement and satisfaction, how would you advise a HR professional who conducts a survey, but the employees only provide responses the management wants to hear as against the crux of their experiences, but provides a totally different response, the real one, during an engagement chat with the HR? Now, this has happened several times. I've witnessed this several times, and it really happens. So what I do when I conduct surveys is that I give room for, I tell people, I try to engage employees one-on-one, and I let them know that try as much as possible to depersonalize your responses. Don't, if for instance, you just came back from maternity leave and you were badly treated, don't write it there in black and white so that they don't know that it's you. But then also it speaks to the culture in the organization. If employees are unable to speak out, that means that there's something wrong with that culture. But we know that that's might be the norm in so many places where employees don't want to speak out while still in the organization. So what you can do is that what I did on one of the occasions was that I went to the head of the organization, and I told the head of the organization that, hey, what you're saying that they wrote there is different from what they told me. And I said, if you go to them and you speak to them one-on-one, what they say to you will be different from what they say to me. So it will be in our best interest to go with what they've spoken offline and not what they wrote on paper. So, and we've seen that once we are able to, while the organization is still transiting to a space where people feel safe, a space where people can actually speak their words A and it's not misinterpreted to B, or there's no backlash. Before we transit to that, you as the HR manager, a lot stops at your table. If you say that this employee actually spoke to you, or even without mentioning names, because I try not to mention names, this is the general consensus. So this is what I think they are saying. This is what they said to me, and that was even what informed our survey the last time. They were speaking to me about several things, but they were not, we weren't able to capture it, so we then conducted a survey, but what we can do is that if you as the HR person, you've brought yourself to a certain level where management respects your views, they know you're not conjuring up images of what the organization is going through, or you're not conjuring up things about what these employees are saying, they will believe you. Until we can get the organization to a point where employees feel safe, you are the first person that even organization, the management feels safe with. If they feel safe with you, I'm saying that employees are saying this, and I'm saying it to maybe leaders at management meeting. Do they actually believe me? Or do they think I'm lying, or just putting my experience and I'm putting it into words? So it's first with us, to be able to build up that trust from management. I hope I've answered that question. So I see Oluwatoyin Fadipe's comment here that it can be made anonymous. So believe you me, even with anonymity, some employees don't give unadulterated feedback, even with anonymity. Okay, Blessing has also said that that's the way surveys are conducted, yet the outcome is the same. So I know that there will be no difference, but I've said about the trust in management, trust in the HR by management, it would help a lot. That's when they believe what you are saying, and yeah. Oluwatoyin has heard here also that it is a culture problem, yeah? In my opinion, consistent communication on the importance of these surveys and the impact their opinions would have on managerial decisions should be emphasized. Okay, let me also add here that after surveys, what do we do? Is there a change in behavior from the management side? That would also help how employees respond to future surveys. If we've written here that the pay is bad, in the next survey, is it still coming up that the pay is bad, or there has been a shift? It doesn't mean that the employee is asking for $1 million and you're giving them $1 million. But has there been a shift? Maybe they were earning 100,000 before, and then you conduct a salary survey, you conduct a compensation survey, and you see that, oh, actually, people in this space are earning 300. Oh, we can't match 300 now. Let's do 200 for now. They see a change. That way they are able to be honest with you because they see that you're actually working on the feedback. So how do you take feedback as an organization? If they don't take the feedback, if the organization doesn't take the feedback well, then they're not going to get much from the surveys. I see the hands raised, and I'm just trying to. Okay, there's another question from Grace here. My question is, what can HR do where the staff are more or less like disengaged from the company, but for daily bread, they are still there? So this happens a lot. It has to do with so a survey would help, yeah? One-on-one talks would help to ask, what do they really want? What are you looking to see in an organization? I read something online, I think it was on LinkedIn this morning, where someone was leaving an organization, it was sort of a cartoon. Someone was leaving an organization, and then the manager, the head of the organization was asking, what would make you stay? The person said, well, I can't stay again now, but this was what made me leave. Exit interviews are also good for that. But before they get to the exit, there's something I conduct in my organization every year. It's called a stay interview. What would make you stay? It's different from the general survey. Just a few questions. What would make you stay? And then the person tells you, this is what will make me stay. So you want to try to implement that as much as possible. Like I've said, you might not be able to because of budget and other reasons. And then it's not every time an employee cries foul that you want to keep running, because then they'll cry with the foul one day and you see that, this employee is just using me to play, So you want to be careful with that as well. You want to balance it with what the organization can actually give. So what will make them stay? You look at it, and then you look at what the organization can give. Once you are able to, you should have that open interaction with them. Because even for some of us HR, some of the HR people are disengaged as well. So a disengaged HR, how can they engage a disengaged workforce? You want to ask yourself that question. But we are there, we are the front line. Employees don't want to know whether you're disengaged as HR or you're not disengaged as HR. You are just the face of management. So when you ask them those questions, what will make them say, like I said, the people asked for yoga. We brought yoga. It was interesting to me. There was yoga. But after the session, you know, and we try to put a lot of other creativity into our team meetings as well. Team meetings were always, you just come out and maybe read out your past work, and people complained and all of that. And try to put a bit of creativity. Those are some of the things that it will shock you that this, our generation Z, that they're looking forward to. What do they do on their weekend? Are you giving them, you know, there was a time I introduced a game, Fun at Work. You just ask questions about the organization. You can ask about question as trivial as how many people gave birth to, how many people gave put to bed last year. The answer, you give them a little amount, 10,000, 20,000, according to how the budget is. You find out that people look forward to these kind of things. They look for, because they feel you care about them. You know, this engagement can also be from your health schemes. What benefits do you have? It might not, like I said, it might not be big money like that, but they want to see that you really care about them. It might even be in this hybrid and remote thing. They might be, I've been screaming for remote, and you as the HR, you are the one even blocking this thing. Management is saying we can actually do it, and we can release them to do one day from home, but you are the one blocking. So you want to see there are different areas where that makes employees disengaged. But you as the HR manager, you should be in a position of trust. They can come to you and tell you that actually this is what I'm thinking of resigning. This is what I'm thinking, you know, and you are able to put a stop to it immediately. You know, so HR has a lot to do in terms of engagement of staff, a lot of creativity. You need to be looking at best practices. You need to be looking at, you know, you look at places like LinkedIn, offices like Twitter, they say they work from home, they say they give them 1 hour to sit down and do. You might not go to that extent, but you want to see how well you can bring in creativity to the workspace. Because before you know it, these people, they've gone, and some of them don't even want to work. That's the interesting thing. Some of them don't even want to work. So let me take the questions now. Yeah, I think let me take the questions now. You can unmute and ask your question.
All right, thank you so much. I want to ask a question around. Hello, can you hear me? Am I audible?
Yes.
All right, thank you. So I want to ask a question around the employee engagement. So how do you improve employee engagement where you have your staff scattered around the world with different time zone? You know, when you're in the office in the morning, they are in the night. When you're sleeping in the night, they are already at the workstation. So how do you improve engagement in that situation? That's all.
Okay, so that is it's a very tricky one. I actually work with an organization that has different time zones, but it's not as bad as when some people are sleeping, some people are awake. But I know of an organization that, what they used to do was even on weekends or public holidays. You know, public holidays maybe in Nigeria now you have a public holiday. In other places you don't have a public holiday. That's when you crop in a game. You know, they bring in a game, and people are on ground to want to link to that. You know, anytime you just give a time frame within which they answer maybe whatever questions you're giving them. So people are on ground, and you make the prices a bit juicy or something. So people are watching out for that space, you know. So those are the time you try to find a level playing ground. The interesting thing is that even as much as we say that these people don't want to work, or even everybody doesn't want to work, millennial or Gen Z or baby boomer, nobody wants to work again. But you actually find out that if you call somebody maybe on a Saturday to do something for you, depending on the culture that you have, that is in that organization, you find people willing to go the extra mile. So for that, you have sessions. You could also have sessions like team retreats. You know, it might be a week-long. In our organization, we have week-long retreats in different countries. You know, you have it in one country 1 year, you have it in another country 1 year. You know, you just maybe even in that, there are some organizations that you have, let's say the US people, they are sleeping now. UK people are awake. In the US, how many of those employees do you have? Can they work together to do their own engagement activities? Can they volunteer engagement activities that they can do together as a team? It keeps them engaged in their own space. It doesn't necessarily mean that all million employees come together to be engaged at once. So we just need to be creative about it. We just need to see what works per time. Like I said, the other organization, they do it on public holidays. These ones are public holidays. So the other people that have been sleeping, they'll be awake by then. We can do the thing together. It can be only on public. I know Nigeria has a lot of public holidays, so it really worked for them. People in the other side of the world, they're awake and they are able to participate, you know. So we just need to be creative about it. At the time we used to do book reviews as well. The time we just used to bring facilitators to speak about mental health, speak about different other things. You know, you just find a suitable time for it. And like I said, if the culture is right, you can actually tell an employee, give me even 1 hour of your time on a Saturday to meet with the time of the other group, you know, and you see that they're willing to go miles for you. So it's just like they say that there's a way you can tell somebody to go to hell and they would look forward to it. So that would be my response to you. A lot of creativity, a lot of creativity, a lot of creativity. I think I saw Jade Sola's hand up before. It's down now. Okay, okay, how do you manage different employment laws in your employees' countries? So different employment laws in employees' countries, you just have to adhere to those laws. So like what we do in our organization, we have the maternity leave. The maternity leave is 4 months, 16 weeks at the moment. In Nigeria, in some places, it's not 16 weeks. In some organizations, in some other countries, it's 16 weeks. What you want to do is not to run foul of any law. So where maybe Senegal has it for 12 weeks, for instance, maybe Nigeria has it for 6 weeks. You go with the highest so that you don't run foul of the law. And then you are not unfair to anybody. So you pick the highest, is their luck. So that's the way to work. Otherwise, you run foul. So otherwise you'll be setting different standards. Now, you can do that if you have just one HR administering HR all over. But there are situations where I've worked for organizations where you would have, we had a branch in South Africa. There was a HR manager for that South Africa branch, and there were like 30 staff there. So he administered HR according to the law. So they went on maternity leave according to their law. Nigerians went on maternity leave according to their law. But you can't, so where we have, now I'm talking, the difference with that and what I'm saying is that in our organization now, it's just a centralized HR person. So if the HR is central, you want to have your laws central. So like we have Mother's Day in our organization. Mother's Day is 1 day off every month for the females. They say it's to manage your monthly flow period time. So 1 day off every month. We don't have Mother's Day in Nigeria, but we observe it because we have Zambian team members, you know. So, and you can't say the Zambian person should go and the Nigerian staff should not go, you know. So it is a law that we have put. So because we don't want to run foul of it. Like I said, it's different from when you have the organization as separate entities in those different regions. Then they can have their own separate laws. They do as they like. But you have a centralized HR, you have the same policies. You just try to, you just go with the one that will make you run foul of any law in any of the branches that you have. Then the next question here, it says, how do you handle the issue of different sexual orientations from the West in Nigeria, taking consideration of local laws and culture, for instance, a gay employee? Okay, so this one is very tricky. Yeah, so in Nigeria, Nigeria is not as exposed as other regions in the West, so it could be a lot tricky. But technology has actually come to help us in that aspect. You put there's a way you can cut out an employee without a potential employee without letting the person know that that's the reason you're cutting the person off. You put your form, you already have your AI tool, and then you put it there. You always see the section. I even filled the form today, and the form was they put sexual orientation there. Are you straight? Are you gay? You put it there. You know, once you put it there, the person responds to the question. You know, and you make it part of your employment process. So that's one way to get away with it, you know, but you want to be careful to also do your investigation well, because they might lie on the form. But, you know, the Westerners are different from us. Westerners, they're as open as a book. They tell you anything. It's your loss if you don't employ me because I'm gay. But then again, I look at it and I'm wondering, why wouldn't I want to employ a gay employee? Why wouldn't I? The law says that you'd recruit somebody for a job, he makes himself available for the job. When you check the Nigerian the Labor Act in Nigeria, that's what it says. Has he made himself available for the job? Is he doing the job? So why should the sexual orientation have an issue with it? he has presented himself for the work now. It's not as if when he's coming for a meeting, he's holding his gay friend or something, So as long as it doesn't disturb my work, you look beyond that. There are so many things that you look beyond. Even it goes about some people, you put tattoos all over. Is it disturbing their work? It's not disturbing their work. So long as it's not disturbing your work. It's not, the person is not making it threatening to the others or putting it in the face of others. I don't see an issue with it. But then again, it depends on the organization. Depends on how the organization takes it. How can HR improve organizational culture? This one has a lot to do with the management, the founder, the visionary of the organization. How does the person want the culture to be? Now, if the person, because some of these management people, they tell you that this is what we want and they want you to do it that way, In such a case, if it's a toxic environment, there might be little or nothing you could do about it, but to just stand yourself out as I'm not toxic, you understand? There's a way you would separate yourself from the organizational toxicity and create a culture around yourself. They feel safe in that your HR space. There are some emails you write, they know you are the one that wrote it. And there are some emails you write, this one is management, because they already know you as a person. You are not toxic. So you try to bring that positivity into the organization. We can influence the organization, but it takes time, really. Several times you join organizations and people look at us and they are wondering, what's this person coming to offer? Is it not to dictate to us what we've always been hearing? But you can set a standard. You can set yourself apart. You'd let the person know, I'm here to create a change. And I one of my former bosses used to tell me that HR should not be a rubber stamp. So once you know that you are not a rubber stamp, there are some things also that you want to insist on. And it also depends on the value you're bringing on board. If you've been able to create value, been able to give management value once, twice, they want to listen to you, and you are talking to them that the culture is toxic. They want to listen to you. So it's you yourself. How are you carrying yourself? What are you bringing on board? You yourself, are you a toxic person? If the management is saying, let's increase pay, are you the one saying, don't increase the pay? So it is you first. So that even if you find out that, like I said before, you send an email, they know whether it's you, they know whether it's management speaking, because you've tried to separate the issues. So are you carving a niche for yourself in that space? Do they know that this person is not toxic? It's just that their hands are tied. There are some times they know, my HR's hands are really tight. They couldn't just help but do this, So it's you first. What value are you bringing? When they see value, even an employee brings a problem to you, are you able to provide solutions? You don't have to provide all the 10 solutions that the employee is looking for, but out of 10, are you able to provide 2? You provide 2. The low-hanging fruit you're able to give the employee knows, okay, if I bring other ones in future, I can trust them. I can trust this HR. And then even on the management space, what suggestions are you giving to them? What value are you creating? Like I said about data analytics, about people analytics, what value are you bringing on board? This is the way they've been doing things, but you come and you say, let's try this way. It also has to do with our level of persuasiveness. How are we able to influence? Are we able to influence behavior as HR? I'm answering Grace's question, but I want to say it's a grace given to some people. Some people just come with that natural charisma of being able to influence. But if you're not able to, and as a HR person, what do? You improve yourself, you upskill yourself. How do I influence? How do I change behavior? You want to go and learn that skill so that when you present, there's some people, they talk rubbish, but you want to listen to their rubbish because the way the rubbish is sounding convincing. You want to get that skill. So that's the way you would balance it. Gradually, the culture would change because management will want to listen to you. You've provided one solution, it worked. Let's hear how she has come again. Although they might argue back and forth, it might be 10 things you present, they agree on only one. It's a start. So you pick it one after the other. Let Rachel speak. Your hand must be paining you now. It's raised. Rachel, please go ahead. Rachel, you are still muted. Okay, before Rachel is able to unmute. I have a question here from Jade Sola. Is it wrong for an employee to run 2 jobs here in Nigeria, particularly when one job does not affect the other? For instance, an employee works with an organization during the week and does another with another company at weekends without one affecting the other. So it's not wrong. In that scenario you've painted, weekday is different from weekend. You've not entirely sold out your life to an organization. Even in Nigeria or anywhere else, you can actually hold 2 jobs, one on the weekend, one in the or during the weekday, but then you must be careful with your health. You must be able to balance it well. Work-life balance is key. Are you making out time for your family? That also is there. You might feel that, oh, I'm doing all the jobs now and I'm making all the money. But when they invite you to programs, are you able to attend? When your friends want you to meet with them somewhere, are you able to attend, or you're just being at work? Because it's not the work that will stand for you when you need help in future. It is the people that will stand for you. So you want to also balance that as well. And but where you have, so some people also, they work part-time for 2 organizations. That could also work. The key point is you're not using the time of organization A to work for organization B. So that's where it becomes illegal, where you're working 40 hours for one organization, working 40 hours for the other organization. That's when it becomes illegal. But if you're able to balance it, you're working maybe out of 40 hours, you're doing 20 hours for one, you're doing 20 hours for the other, it's fine. And then you must also check your contracts that you've signed with them. Non-competes, is it in the same space? You want to be sure that it's not in the same space, because once you've signed a non-compete contract, you can't, even on the weekends, you can't, if they run the same business or they're in the same industry space, it's illegal because you've signed that non-compete contract. So yeah, but where they are not affecting one another, they're not affecting each other, affecting meaning that you're not using time A for time B, then it's not illegal. You can do weekends and you can do weekdays, you can do part-time also. Okay, so I'd try to unmute you, Rachel.
So she just needs to unmute and speak. I've made that.
Yeah, okay. Wait for her to unmute.
Hello, Rachel. Just unmute yourself and speak. You are a co-host like every other person. Hello, ma. You are unmuting everybody.
Okay.
Yeah, I think maybe Rachel has moved on.
Okay.
Which is okay.
She can type. After the stay interview and there are no changes, how do I convince for another stay interview in subsequent times? Okay, so after, this is quite dicey. Like I said, HR professionals, we wear dual caps, cap of management and cap of employee. You do your stay interview, they tell you these are the changes we want, and there are no changes at all. How do I convince for another stay interview in subsequent time? So I think that at that time, for me, it's about value. And like I said, again, not being a rubber stamp. It might not be the same way I reason that you reason, but I always believe that if I can't convince management to do things, out of 5 things, 1 at least, then I have to check myself, number 1, and then perhaps I've overstayed my welcome in that place. If management is not listening to you as HR, there's a problem. There's a problem. Have you sold yourself out to management? There are some HR people, they would get their promotion for themselves, and then what happens to the other employees? Management is seeing you as well. They'll give you that promotion, yes, but then come for other things. It becomes a problem to convince them, because you've sold out. It's as if you've sold out yourself to the devil, because you then can't face them and ask for genuine things for employees that will benefit everybody, because you have put yourself first and you've actually collected something just for yourself. So my own trajectory and my own story in HR, I'm quick to move, yeah? Not because I am intolerant of behavior, but because I feel that if I can't add value there as HR, I'm central to that business. If I can't add value, I move on. I know that I'll add value somewhere else. So you see that in some places I've stayed long, in some places I stayed short. I've worked in a place for 6 weeks before. Because when I got there, the second day, I just knew that I said, I can't stay here. I can't stay here. You know, where they monitor staff up and down, where you say something, they don't listen to you, you know. You can't stay in a place where they're shouting at you, even you, HR. They're shouting at you. How do you want to then command respect with the employees? You know, so you want to check the value you are bringing. Like I said, value. And are you a rubber stamp? Did they tell you everything they tell you? You just go and do it. They tell you we can't pay now. You can't even try to convince them or try, you know. By the time you are a rubber stamp, there's no way you can ever convince them again, because whatever they say to you is law. You know, so what value are you bringing on board? You must be a change agent. That is the number one thing about HR. You must be a change agent. You know, after leaving an organization, they should look back and say, when this person was here, we saw changes. Another person comes and makes other changes, but we know that because this person was here, that was when we started receiving leave allowance. That was when it wasn't up to. Another person can then come and build on that. But then there must be some things you are able to do. You know, so even after the stay interview, and there are no changes, are there other things that you've been able to bring that there have been changes, so that you can go back to the employees and say, everything you asked for now, they can't give you. But you remember that in August, we actually did 1 and 2 for you. So now in December that I've done stay interview, we can't actually do anything. Wait till May. So what has also been your trajectory in that organization for you to be able to tell staff that I couldn't get it this time, but I can get it for you later? So I hope I've answered that question. So here. Okay, I don't see any other. Okay, Rachel has responded. She says, my question is in relation to presenting yourself as a trustworthy person to the staff, especially when you're new in the organization and you're already being perceived as an enemy from older staff. How does one begin to change the perspective? Okay. Yeah, difficult, but doable. I've worked in an organization where I think it was HR admin then. I headed the HR admin department, and we were a team of about 23 people. Yes, a team of about 23. I had about 5 or 7 of them reporting to me directly then. And all of them were older than me at that time. All of them. And when I say older than me, it wasn't 1 year, 2 years older. It was, I know how the age thing is in Nigeria. It was older as in older. People that you see outside and call auntie, that you call daddy, you know, was that kind of old. You know, so how do you want to convince these people that? And they've been in the organization for 10, 15 years. You're just coming to tell them that, no, things can't work this way again. So I feel that before you get into an organization, you would have studied the organization well. And then you get into the organization, you see these people. What I did then was I like to do a lot of one-on-one communication. I like to present myself to you. So what I do with such, I sit with one-on-one key people actually, and I ask, what has been your issues? What are your issues in this organization? I'm not here, and I tell them I'm not here to do magic, but I can promise you, out of these 5 things, maybe in a year's time you have 1, 2, 3. You know, don't make promises that you can't fulfill, because you don't even know the organization well. You don't know the management well. You know, I joined an organization once and I met all the key people, and somebody actually told me, you that you've come, maybe it's HR. That's how you talk one thing now. We'll go and hear it from so. And I said, okay, just trust me with a little one that you feel that if you hear outside, it won't be detrimental to you. Trust me with that one. And let's just see how we run from there. You know, so it has to do a lot with one-on-one, and you keep up yourself to that level. There's a way you carry yourself. With time, they see that, this one is not a puppet of the organization. There's a way. Even at management meetings, there's a way you carry yourself. And the interesting thing is that the driver will hear what was said at management meetings. Somehow, it usually happens because people are people. So they know how you carry yourself there. They know whether you went there to go and start talking rubbish. But it starts with one-on-one communication. One-on-one communication. How do you put yourself there? You make yourself accessible to them. Let them know that I'm here to serve you. I'm here. It's in your best interests. So when I joined that place where I said all of them were older than me, I put myself there as teachable. I let them know that I don't know anything. No, I might have the more experience, but you people have been the one here since. If you can't work with me, I can't work here. So you make yourself accessible to them and genuinely make yourself genuinely interested in them in life beyond office. So human beings look forward to people who personalize their issues, who speak to them. It's just like, I think it was Selling Bank that did one customer bank. Yeah. You look at the person and say, that's the only person and that's all that matters to you at that moment. So it won't start in one day, but I can tell you that gradually, you'd get there. And interestingly, like I said, the world is a global village. You find out that one day, somebody will come and tell you that, somebody told me about you somewhere. And if you've been the same person all over, it will be the same story. You'll find somebody that knew you from another organization that now knows somebody in this organization now that will now tell you, you should trust that your HRO. I've had it happen to me so many times. And that really helped. No one said, that lady's in your office. No. Once she says A, it is A. As she is, that's how there's the way she is, there's nothing left elsewhere. So you want to build up that for yourself also. So that when people say that, who is Ohida? Ohida is the same, whether Ohida was working at DHL or Ohida was working at NIPOST, Ohida is the same. So what you see is what you get. So it's one-on-one communication, but it also deals with you yourself. What are your values? What are your values? What are you bringing on board? Am I a honest person? Am I a person of integrity? Am I someone that just wants to play to the gallery? So they see it. People see through you. They know when you're deceptive. They know when you're not. So you want to be a sincere person also to the employees, and that's how you build the trust over time. And they know who to go to when they want to hear lies, and they know who to go to when they want to hear the truth. Even the management, the guy in the organization will know the person that will tell them what they want to hear, will know the person that will tell them the truth. So just consistent behavior, sincerity, one-on-one communication, I think would help a lot. Okay. Presentation slides after the meeting. Yes. All right. Okay, Ajayi Eniola has a question. Let me stop sharing my screen. A question, a contribution. All right, so that I can share. Okay, then go ahead, please.
Good evening.
Let me see if I can.
Thank you for this section. Very, very educative and very insightful. I want to ask a question, and my questions goes this way. Is it possible to have just like 8 people in an HR admin department, and do you feel they can function well? That is 1. 2, how can you manage people that you work with that it seems as if you're the only one working, and they see you to be someone that is very tough? How do you change people's perspective in that angle? Yes, you have a boss that she's more of a laid back person, and you are more of the active person. But most times, because of their inadequate or maybe their laziness, they don't really want to work, they tilt towards the head of the department. So most times when you talk, it's always analyze, add, but analyze on the truth, on the right path, trying to see, okay, this is the way things should be done. But because they don't want to go through the normal route because of public difficulties or maybe stress, maybe the normal route is stressful, they tilt towards jumping the rules and doing things shabbishly. Do you get? So how can I manage that situation as a team lead?
Okay. So if I get your question right, you have people working with you, and you're reporting to somebody else, yes?
Yes.
Okay, so they think that you're too harsh,
too hard,
and they suck up to the other person.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So I've had many people refer to me as Margaret Thatcher before. And yeah, almost everywhere I go, almost everywhere I work. Now, when I join an organization and what I do when I relate with people one-on-one, I let them know that I'm Oyinda and I'm HR. So there are two different faces. So when people know me as Oyinda, they're like, oh, okay, this person is actually, when, like when I'm in my HR mood, even some of my colleagues, senior managers and all, they will ask me, I might chat with them now and they ask me, are you asking as Oyinda or are you asking as HR? Because they want to know how to respond, and they know when I say I'm asking as HR, then they know that, okay, I just need to sit right. So I feel that if you're somebody who is bothered about how they view you, even when you're doing right, I think that you might have a problem. I'm not really bothered about how they view me because I know I have their best interests at heart. I've had a near head collision with a staff in an organization. I joined the organization and then one of the managers had been, maybe the staff had been currying favors from the manager, and then I come in as HR and then I begin to question everything. And then the staff begins this personal war with me and begins to send emails, and does some of these emails. The manager now wants to respond to this staff, blind copies me. And at the end of the day, after about 1 or 2 years, no, I think it was 1 year, we're having a performance review. And then this staff just, and I asked this staff, what is it with you? What is the issue? And I told there was another manager then, and I told the manager, I said, please call this person to order. Call this person to order. Because this other manager that we're currying favors from so much, if you had gotten these favors rightfully, when I was making those changes, this person should have said that, this favor that this person got to, I was the one who signed it. I was the one who approved it. But lo and behold, this person did not make a sound. I said, so I'm coming from nowhere. I'm coming to carry out my duties. And then I'm the one you are fighting with personally. Why don't you call this other manager and ask them what went wrong? If you got the favors the right way, why is there not feedback from that manager to tell me that, no, Oyinda was actually the person who approved this? That was when the person now actually began to see that, no, this person is not out to witch hunt me. On other occasions, I've tried to reach out to this staff personally. When I started reaching out, it seemed as if, this person, no, just trying to. But the person saw that I reach out to staff like that. I reach out to staff like that casually. So when I'm greeting you in the morning, I'm not greeting you like HR, I'm greeting you as Oyinda. I'm just greeting you, how is it? Or how was the weekend? Or how is that your baby? Or how is this? You try to know about their personal lives. They know that, no, when you're on the job, you're on the job. When we are playing, let's know we are playing. When we're serious, let's know we are serious. So like I said, ultimately, by the time you leave that organization, they know the value you've brought. The person that has been currying favors for them up and down, they say that this person can't even speak for us outside. You find out that it's even the hard ones, in quotes, that go all out to want to convince management on why maybe we shouldn't fire a staff, on why something bad shouldn't happen, on why we should do ABC for staff. All those ones that are doing, they don't want to be named as bad people. You find out that they don't have any value to add. So your consistency over time, and like I said, trying to balance it. When I'm Oyinda, I'm Oyinda. When I'm HR, I'm HR. Just know the difference. So they know that now. They know that now. Even at times I send them messages on Sundays. I'm typing, this is not HR. Please don't think it's HR reaching out to you. This is just Oyinda, And I've gotten personal favors outside of the workspace as being Oyinda. But because they know that they can trust this person will not use this to get back at us. And this person actually has our best interest at us. So it has to do with consistency. And initially, you just blank that, whether they see the end of it. Okay, I'll give you an example, like a mother that a child has a boil or something. And you want to try to press the boil. The child will hate you at that moment. But by the time you press the boil, the child feels relief. After that period, when the child, actually felt relief. So the time the child is feeling the relief, you might have even left the organization. And they look back and say, I wish this person was still here. So if you're not particular about receiving your flowers when you're there, you might receive your flowers when you have left there. And they still begin to speak about you generations after. when this person came, this was what this person did. Your name will be etched in gold. So when you're just particular about leaving your footprints in the sands of time, just particular about adding value, close your eyes to what they see. But like I said, I had spent 6 weeks in an organization when I knew that this place, it will be difficult to break. I can't do anything. It will just drive me crazy because I'm not someone to just play to the gallery. So I just moved on. And till date, that organization is still the same way. They're able to persuade their HR to come across to their end, So that's a response I would give. Consistency is key. So I've shared the LinkedIn profile for the person asking for it. Yes, so I hope I've answered the questions. I don't see any more questions from here. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, madam, for an excellent session. You have done justice to this topic, and you have also provided responses to the questions that came subsequent to your presentation. On behalf of the over 70-80 people who joined this call tonight, and many hundreds of others who will be watching the recorded version on YouTube later, we'd like to appreciate you for taking out of your busy schedule to educate us, enlighten us. We pray that God will continue to bless you, keep you, and promote you in all your endeavors and initiatives. Thank you so much, ma'am. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me. Thank you, everyone, and have a good evening.